Whoa. Skinwalkers caught on camera. What? Would you believe this if they were not caught on camera, my friends? According to legend, this creature was originally real. However, they made a mistake and left them outside. Whoa, they gradually lost their humanity. Ha! And become things like this. Oh my god. Shape changes and stuff happens to their bodies. They can change their skin to transform into different creatures. But this shape is the one that is extremely scary. The one that they really love, you see? More like their default shape. Whoa, allegedly. What? They love to stay in the dark and deserted places. My god. Imagine coming across them, my friends, when you're taking a walk out there in the woods at night. Whoa, man. Why would they love to stay in this form? It's even hard for them to move. This is scary. Oh, man. Now if they happen to be chased by something.
If there is power in the name, why would they change the name? Why would there be so many variations of the name? Again, what I need you to understand is that names never need to be changed, no matter what language you're speaking in. The name can remain the same because names are said with the tongue, through sound, through frequency, which means even if it were spelled differently, it could be said the same no matter who said it or read it. God is within you. We are God's. You are called to do greater works than the man they called Christ. What is not clicking? What is not making sense? You believe that you are only called to be Christ-like when we are telling you you are called to be Christ. There was no Jesus. That name didn't exist until 1611. It's a false idol, a false God, a white man, an engraven image that is not real. And the fact that Christians are upholding the name as if it is God itself is proof that he is an idol and not real. You have been oppressed. As I understand, it's difficult to grasp when looking through the lens of fear. But I'm asking you for a moment to use your logical mind.
This creepy video is going viral in Mexico, and so the story goes. A neighbor gave away the toy mirror to their daughter. Now all was fine, until it started to ask oddly personal questions like, "What's a secret you haven't told anyone?" But even stranger were the answers it gave back, because it didn't seem like something a normal toy would say now. I've translated the audio as best I can, but this isn't where the story ends.
Bienvenido al castillo de los sueños del espejo mágico. ¿Cuál es tu nombre? Yo soy Jessie, la princesa más bella del castillo de los sueños del espejo mágico. ¡Qué tierna eres! Nosotras seremos mejores amigas. ¿Tu personaje favorito? Si papá pregunta, mi favorito es mi papi. Si mamá pregunta, yo responderé que la que más me gusta es mi mami. Y si tú me preguntas, le diré que el que más me gusta eres tú. Soy una niña muy inteligente.
Now feeling creeped out, they stripped it off its batteries, but this didn't seem to entirely work, as they still heard noises coming from it, so they put it in the barn behind their home. That is until the commoners begged them to go back and ask him more questions, and against his better judgment, he does just that. Now some people say they have this exact toy, and it doesn't speak, but it's hard to verify this story.
Solo pude encontrar estas piezas y pues sí, le puse unas baterías que tenía aquí en la casa. Como ven, son nuevas. La neta no creo que prenda, pero bueno, vamos a ver. Tal vez sí tengo miedo.
Bienvenido al castillo de los sueños del espejo mágico.
Hola.
Hola, encantado de conocerte.
Gracias, a mí igual. Me da gusto.
Eres muy divertido. ¿Tienes una fiesta?
No tengo fiesta. ¿Tú tienes? ¡Ay, vas a chingar a tu madre!
There's a lady on TikTok talking about her encounter with vampires, so I may as well talk about mine. This New Year's Eve, I was driving Lyft and I picked up an order, and it ended up being at like a place that used to be a church, but it wasn't a church anymore, obviously, if you saw the festivities that was going on. There were like people with cloaks and like dark hair and heavy eyeliner, and there was like a red glow from the building coming out. 4 guys got into my car. As soon as they got into the car, I felt a chill. And yes, it was winter, but it was a different kind of chill.
The chill that she's talking about is not like the chill you get when you go outside and it's cold and you've been in a warm room. It's not like that. The chill she's talking about is similar to the chill you get when you've been in a room for a while and all of a sudden the chill takes you. You know, like you do this, you shiver, you say, ooh. And someone says, "Go, are you cold?" Yeah, it's like that chill. It's not like a fever chill. It's not like that. But I'm just taking a guess. I can't confirm nor deny what she's saying is true.
Oh, these are vampires. There were 2 brunettes and 2 blondes. They all had blue eyes. Not that that mean anything, but their eyes were almost hypnotically blue. They were so clear, you could see through their, like, not their soul, but I can't even describe it. Their skin was white, but not white like crayon white, but it was very pale, but it was not a pale like, you know, some like white people are like, oh, I'm so pale. Even like red, people with red hair, how pale. It was still a different kind of pale, because even regular people, when they're pale, there's still some warmness to their skin. Like their skin looked cold. I don't know how to describe it.
They're either from Russia, Switzerland, or Alaska. I'm chopping down some of her video, but in the video, she goes on to say that they look like they have old money, which leads me to believe that it's Switzerland that they're from. But again, I don't, I'm just taking a guess, educated assumption.
Immediately, I start to panic. My heart is racing. I'm feeling like, is it too late to reject the call? Like, can I even ask them to leave the vehicle? And then I started thinking, okay, if I am panicking and my blood pressure is rising, then I'm like pushing more blood through my veins, which may mean that I may seem more appetizing to them.
They absolutely knew.
The man behind me, the blonde, who was like in the middle, touches my shoulder, and immediately it's like somebody poured warm honey over me. Like, that is the calm just spreading down my body. It was like immediately I felt relaxed, almost like I was in a trance, kind of there, but like watching myself.
I don't know this from personal experience, of course, but I have heard that vampires can secrete a sweat from their hand that affects humans in that way, whereas though once it touches your skin, it relaxes you. It's kind of like CBD, I guess. I think that's why people believe vampires hypnotize people. Vampires can't hypnotize anyone. They get you relaxed and then talk to you. It's more of a gift of gab and CBD. But also, like, I'm taking a guess. I have no idea if that's actually a thing. You know, like, you guys should look it up. Use Google and stuff.
And I knew at that moment that I wasn't necessarily in danger. So then the guy is like, well, our car is only a few blocks away, which I could tell from looking at the app. And he's like, but before we get there, we need you to answer a question. And you have to think very carefully about this. So now I'm like, okay, this answer is going to determine if I go home to my children or not. It could just be my imagination and like me jumping the gun, and he could have been joking, but it didn't feel jokey.
He wasn't joking, but you weren't in danger. Like just taking a guess at just, I don't know.
He's like, okay, well, we have 2 separate cars. How would you group us together? Who should ride with who? What? So I'm like, I look back at them, and they're smiling, and they're kind of giggling. Now, their teeth don't look like regular teeth, but they don't look like the typical vampire teeth either. But they definitely did not look like human teeth. Their canines were a little bit more pronounced, but not in a dramatic, fake way. I can't even freaking describe it. And actually, if I had to describe them, to sketch them out right now, I couldn't even. It's like they're a memory, but not like a typical memory, like a memory behind a memory. I can't describe it.
She can't remember it because that's another effect of the hand sweat. Taking it, just guessing.
I grouped the opposite hair colors together. And the guy said, well, why'd you do that? I said, I don't know, it just felt right. He said, excellent choice. He took out his phone, and he's like, I'm going to start my car now. And I'm like, you can start your car from my car? And he's like, yeah, but we like you. You'll get home safe. Good. Like, you'll get tonight. Have a...
If they wanted to do something to her, they would have done it at the beginning of the ride. Or so I've heard.
We have a saying in Latin, ex nihilo nihil fit, which means that out of nothing comes nothing. You can't, in other words, get something out of nothing. And it's occurred to me that this is a fallacy of tremendous proportions that lies at the root of all our common sense, not only in the West, but in many parts of the East as well. And it comes up as a kind of terror of nothing, a put down on nothing, on everything to do with nothing, everything associated with nothing, such as sleep, passivity, rest, and even the feminine principle is often equated with the negative principle. Although women's lib people don't like that kind of thing, but when they get through understanding what I'm going to tell you, I don't think they'll object. Because what has struck me is that nothing, the negative, the empty, is exceedingly powerful. I would say, not ex nihilo nihil fit, out of nothing comes nothing, but I would say you can't have something without nothing. For how do we basically begin to think about the difference between something and nothing? I can say, there is a cigar in my right hand and there is no cigar in my left hand. And so we get the idea of is here and isn't or empty here. But behind that, of course, lies the far more obvious contrast of solid and space.
The fact that Superman is an alien but still Caucasian lets me know everything I need to know about white people. Let me get this straight. E.T., alien. Alf, alien. Men in Black Worms, alien. Martian the Manhunter, who's on Superman, is an alien. Marvin the Martian is an alien. Thanos is an alien. The Teletubbies was aliens, but a Superman is white. A Superman who's technically an immigrant is all of a sudden a white man from Smallville, Kansas. It's funny how amazing Superman looks when his character was created in the 1930s. And we all know how white people age.
Never forget, women spend more time wondering what men are thinking than men spend actually thinking.
So who actually carries the seed and who is responsible for fertilizing that seed? I would like to know. Would you like to know? Let's know it together.
I'm probably about to piss off a large percentage of the population, but I'm a truth teller, so it is what it is. You know the genetic code that determines your sexual reproductive organs are XX and XY. Yeah, these are not letters, they're shapes. And has anyone ever considered that XY is a broken XX? Now, I'm no scientist, but don't you think there's something important in this 25%? Yeah, I was right. 25% of a chromosome. Think it's anything important in here? Hand over my heart, I am an XY lover and a mother to a beautiful boy. Nice. But it is something missing. Quite literally. Don't get offended, don't get mad, don't get mad, please. There's nothing wrong with you. Just listen to the people who do have it all. No tea, no shade. I just thought that would answer a lot of questions for a lot of people.
They're using laser beams on farms to grow more organic food. Check this out.
Okay, so this is the Carbon Robotics Laser Weeder. Essentially what it is we are shooting weeds in laser beams.
And it's just torching these weeds out of existence.
Yes, as long as they're small enough, it's hitting the apical meristem, or the center of the plant, and smoking it, and it dies. Inside there is the computing power of 26 Teslas. Return on investment on this machine, which is over $1 million, was 309 days.
Less than a year.
Less than a year.
And I see you have a John Deere pulling the laser weeder. So how have these two machines aided you in growing more organic produce?
As we're not using any synthetic chemistries and herbicides, you know, this is a great way. It saves us a ton of money, it gets people off their hands and knees, weeding fields, and really gets us a cleaner field going into harvest.
What's the biggest lie ever told to women and girls?
The God is male. Or that man was made somehow closer to God than women. Right? Because that's the fundamental lie the whole patriarchy is based on. That God made man first and woman was just an afterthought because he was lonely. That a woman's whole purpose for existence is to be a glorified assistant. And even though it clearly states in the good book that God is not a man that he should lie, that God is a spirit, there are no male and female in Christ, some religious folk still propagate the idea that there are secondary citizens in heaven. Or on earth now, because remember, on earth as it is in heaven. And if that's the case, why is there more earthly evidence that women came before men? When you consider the oldest skeleton on earth was a black woman. When you consider how chromosomes work. I'm just saying now, y'all invest a whole lot of time in convincing the world that Eve was the reason for the fall of man. That's a whole lot of guilt. Same type of guilt that make a woman stay in an abusive relationship. Same type of guilt that make a woman think it's her fault for being sexually assaulted. Same type of guilt that make a woman want to marry any man she can now because that's her covering.
Homosexuality is mentioned 3 times in the Bible. Genesis, Leviticus, and in Romans. In Genesis, it comes through the story of Sodom and Gomorrah. In Leviticus, it comes through the Levitical laws, which govern the rituals of the priestly tribe of Levi. And in Romans, it comes through the letters written by Paul to the early Christian church in Rome, which was made up of both Jews and Gentiles. But yes, you heard that right. Rome, as in the Roman Empire. The same empire that martyred the man Yehoshua, then gave him a fake name and a religion. How they killed Martin Luther King Jr., then gave him a holiday. You also heard me say that he was writing to the church, right? Almost as if to suggest that the sexual perversion was happening in the church. But anyways, Sodom and Gomorrah is an allegory about the pagan sex rituals that involve rape and orgy. There are 600 Levitical laws in the entire book of Leviticus, including but not limited to the prohibition of eating pigs, crawfish, crab legs, lobster, and calamari, as well as the prohibition of wearing mixed fabrics. If you're going to play devil's advocate and say none of those are relative to sexual relation, it should also be noted that it does condemn incest, adultery, and child sacrifice. However, we quite literally see instances of all 3 of those in the Bible, and I never hear pastors or preachers talking about that from the pulpit. Which I find peculiar since homosexuality doesn't imply rape or murder, but all of the others do. Which is even funnier when you add in the fact that immediately after the destruction of Sodom and Gomorrah, Lot and his daughters have sexual relations. Why does nobody ever talk about that? Anyways, we've already covered that the God of the Bible is not the God, but a God. It isn't really a singular God, but is actually plural gods. Let me show you. Genesis chapter 18, verse 20 through 21 reads like this. And the Lord said, Because the cry of Sodom and Gomorrah is great, and because their sin is very grievous, I will go down now and see whether they have done altogether according to the cry of it, which is come unto me, and if not, I will know. It should be noted that the word Lord, not God, is used here. It doesn't matter. It always matters. There are multiple names for the God of the Bible because, again, the God of the Bible is multiple gods. That's why you get Lord, Lord God, and God. They're all three different fallen angels. I know Lord, in this context specifically, is a fallen angel because he is an all-knowing. I know he is an all-knowing because, like the fallen angels who came down to earth to know human women, the Lord came down to Sodom and Gomorrah to see if the nature of the sin that he thought was happening in Sodom and Gomorrah was in fact true. Isn't it your claim that the God of the Bible is all-knowing?
Like, I just woke up at like 2:50 a.m. and I'm fucking freaking out because I just heard scratching at my door, which usually doesn't scare me because it's probably my dogs, but I let them sleep in my bed tonight because it's freezing outside, like the middle of winter, but like my door does not scratch and it's currently like a bit open because what the fuck? No, fuck that shit, bro. That. No. No. I do not fuck with this.
¡Un ovni! Que no es un avión. Mira, mamá, mira. Que los aviones... ¡Mamá! ¡Mira! ¡Un ovni! Que los aviones son... Pero que mira cómo es ahora. Que sí. Pero vamos a ver. ¡Ha desaparecido!
This used to be a planet of giants. I mean, very, very big giants. I'm talking like 100 and something feet tall. There are old stories out there about the Titans that were fighting and they were in the water. And when they were fighting, they were causing tsunamis and they were flooding other parts of the beings that lived on land. So sometimes these Titans would die. And when these Titans would die, even if they were buried, I don't know if they buried them or not, fungus would begin to grow off these Titans, and that brought forth new life and existence. Now, I did a video a few weeks ago talking about these Virils parasites. And these parasites, you know, they exist and they live inside of the human body. Now, just think. Imagine those giants, and imagine them having parasites as well. So when they die, imagine how big those parasites was, those creatures that exist within them. And as they died and they began to decay, these creatures came up out of them and they went upon land. So this is probably how some of these things that we call dinosaurs and all kind of creatures that exist in the oceans that we know nothing about, there's a good chance that they came from these giant beings that once existed. Now, there's an old story that I never could understood. I didn't understand when I first heard it. And I think it mentions something about a god or an Egyptian god named Nut. Correct me if I'm wrong. But it said that it took itself in its hand, masturbation, and it spreaded its seed upon the soil to bring forth life. Now, if we look at the planet as the whole, as the Mother Earth, it's saying that these beings were putting their semen to create little seamen, you know what I'm saying, on the planet to bring forth life on the planet. They were fertilizing the planet just to bring forth life. Now, this is just a story that's been going around for thousands of years before our existence at this time. But now that I am trying to get an understanding of giants, I understand what that story means. And being that there not only were the human beings that were dying, there were other creatures that were often much bigger, 150 and 100 feet big, that would die, and then they would make up land masses. And then the people would end up living on these land masses. For is it not true that they call the place that we call America, do they not call this Turtle Island? right? And if you look at the place that they call Africa, it looks almost like a human skull from the side. Yeah. See, we may be the fungus on top of bodies, and some of us may, and some of the creatures may be parasites that once existed within the body. And if you take our bodies and you look up under a microscope, you will see a bunch of cells. And these cells are running around doing different jobs, maintaining our existence in the physical. It runs like a superhighway and all that stuff. It's like little cities and all this stuff living within us. And that's not counting all the mites and stuff that's within our flesh and the parasites that's within us too. And just think about it. When we pass, we're going to have parasites that come out of us, because when I did that thing about the vril, and when I did further investigation about that thing about the vril, those things that the guy was holding up that he was showing, those look kind of like stingrays, dehydrated stingrays. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. What do stingrays do? Stingrays are built flat like this here, and they have their mouth at the bottom. These things are bottom feeders. They feed off of the bottom, and they live within the water. And think about this here. Our bodies are over 70-something% water. So then we have bottom feeders that also live within us. So it is quite possible that it could be a creature that folds itself up and lives between what you would call the different hemisphere. It lives between the different hemispheres, and when they cut it open and then they pull this thing out and pull it apart, it's very possible that it could be something that looks like a doggone stingray. Yeah, but man, yeah, this planet used to be much bigger. See, think about this here. There used to be giant trees and giant bushes and everything on this planet. Those trees would put out more oxygen. And being that we were carbon-based beings, we were putting out carbon to feed those doggone plants. And it made us bigger as well. But someone in their disagreeable way of thinking, they were like, you know what? The people are too big. We need to shrink the people in this area right here where we're existing so that they won't eat so much. So what we're going to do, we're going to cut these big trees down. And they had a laser or something, and they cut the bad boys down because they cut them smooth going all the way across. You've seen the pictures before. Devil's Peak. Devil's Peak. It really does look like a doggone tree. And there are many other spots around the world that looks like that. So when they cut down those big trees, it made us grow smaller as a people. And it made us easier to control. Now, outside of that ice wall, now let's dig it with the planet. We still exist on the great continent. Those oceans that we are aware of, those are large ponds. They just call them oceans. But nevertheless, these are areas in which we live on this thing that's called the planet, or what's left of the planet. And then you may have this place here that we call Earth. This is our Earth up under the firmament. This little small area right here, this is our Earth under the firmament. And then outside of there, there's another spot called Anunnaki. They live up under a dome. And then outside of that, there's another spot called Mars. They live up under a dome. And then there are some places out there that exist who do not exist under a dome, because they can breathe the atmosphere. Whatever the atmosphere outside of this thing that we're in, they can breathe the atmosphere, so they need not a dome. But let me tell you something about the Anunnaki, since we're talking about this here. About those domes. The Anunnaki are a threat to many people because they have risky technology. And this risky technology allows them to be able to go through people's firmaments. That's why these cats are considered a threat. They understand the use of tachyon energy and all that stuff, man. You have people who strike deals with them just to get, they have beings, put it this way, they have beings that strike deals with them just to get their advanced technology. And they'll give it to you, and they care not if you use it in an agreeable or disagreeable manner. It's all business. But anyway, man, I'm going to get back on this here, man. I hope you got something from that there. And then let me say something. Say one more thing. I said that what's left of the Earth. This planet, it was hit one time. It got hit one time. And when it got hit, it knocked a chunk off. So this thing that we call Earth, it probably looks something like this now. Yeah, because this thing, it got hit by a ship, and it did a lot of damage. So it's no telling what it looks like. It may look like something like this here, or it may look like this here. With a chunk missing. And they say this chunk that came up missing went off into orbit, and it became the moon. They said that this planet, it was hit by the thing that you call Nibiru, right? And Nibiru is it's a man-made flying planet. You know what I'm saying? That's the best way I can put it. And it's real big. And when it got too close to the planet, it got too close to our orbit. Then it smashed a planet called Malduk. And the Maldakians, they were mad. They tried to doggone attack Nibiru, but Nibiru had that doggone technology. Like I said, they had that advanced crystal and tachyon technology. So they couldn't do anything with it. But when it hit Malduk, it exploded. It broke up into pieces. That created our astral belt that's going around, the astral belt. And then it bounced off it and it hit this planet here. Now, they tried to tell us that they repaired it some kind of way, but I don't know how you can repair damage like that. And see, that right there probably killed part of our atmosphere. And that's why they had to put these doggone firmaments up. And they have them all over the doggone planet for the people who need them. And anyway, 10 minutes, man. This is your man, L. Judge, man. I told you, man, I was going to talk about weird stuff this week. And I ain't done. But I am out. Mr. Real Talk Real Fast. See you later.
Whoa! My friends, good vibes sauce. Thanks very much for watching up to this far. I hope you do realize that all these videos you see here are for entertainment purposes. But like that last video you have just seen, you see, I'd kindly leave you to leave your comments about what you think about them. Like those parasite animals. Which of these existing animals that we have right now do you think could have been parasites? And what make you think that this could have really been parasites? Tell us in the comment section and let's hear what you think about it anyway, you see? Now my friend, I believe you have already hit that like button because I believe you would also want this message of love to reach everybody in the whole world. But if you haven't, I'll give you this second to do so and please subscribe. Now my friend, to wrap up this video in style, we must also be guided in life, in our day-to-day lives, like always what we say. And the guidance comes from this book, the Book of Wisdom. Hear what it says. Turn to me and have mercy on me, as you always do to those who love your name. Direct my footsteps according to your word. Let no sin rule over me. Redeem me from the oppression of men, that I may obey your precepts. Make your face shine upon your servant, and teach me your decrees. Streams of tears flow from my eyes, for your law is not obeyed. Psalms 119 from 132. Wonderful words of wisdom, my friends. May they grow in our hearts and guide us through our lives. Now let's give thanks to our Creator before we finish. You see? Dear Lord, marvelous Father, thank you for your wonderful deeds, Father, for your peace, kindness, protection, and guidance up to this point, Father. Thank you for this friend of ours, Father, that you have been with up to this far. All glory and honor belong unto you, Father. Thank you for their lives, Father. Thank you for your love upon them, Father. Thank you for the good deeds that you shall do in their lives, Father. Bless them abundantly, open their doors and overflow their cup, Father. Give us strength always to spread love, Father, and to do the right thing. In Jesus' mighty name, we do pray, trusting and believing. Amen. Peace and love be with you, my friend. Till next time, I have been Y311H. Lots of love.